Hey, welcome to Yogi's Garage. You got a stuck retractable spoiler. Does your indicator light tell you that your spoiler is retracted when it's not? Does your convertible top not want to go up because of the retractable spoiler? Or are you trying to work on your suspension, but you can't get the top up because of the retractable spoiler? Well then, it's time for another Yogi's Tech Tip where I show you how to get that thing fixed and get you back on the road.
It's time for Yogi's Tech Tip.
It's time for a Yogi's Tech Tip. Hey, welcome back to Yogi's Garage. It's time for another Yogi's Tech Tip. What we're working on today is my 2002 Porsche 911 Carrera. We've got a problem with the retractable spoiler. It works, it goes up and down, but my indicator lights on the dashboard are telling me that the spoiler is in the extended position when it's in the retracted position. So I'm unable to raise the convertible top because of an interference issue between the clamshell and the spoiler. And this is a big inconvenience for me because if you've been following along, I'm working on restoring this car and I'm starting with the suspension. But if you take a look here, I can't get to the rear strut mount without getting the top up, but I can't get the top up because of the retractable wing. So I got to get it out. So I've already started the process. I'm not going to bore you with so much of the disassembly process because it's pretty straightforward. But I'm just going to walk it through with you here and show you what I did. So prior to me yanking this out, there's a black heat shield that goes right here, and it is attached using some, I believe they're 5mm. Yeah, they're using 5mm bolts to attach the strut, the actual ram that lifts the wing up, as well as the heat shield. In addition, there are some of these washer holders. I forgot the name of them, but basically there are little clips that hold the accordion bellow between the top of the spoiler and the bottom of the deck lid. And there's only one power cord that goes to it, and then which is here to the motor. And then what you see here are the micro switches. My problem was because the micro switches here, which tells it either it's up or out, or sorry, retracted or extended, retracted or extended. One of these micro switches was kind of in a funky position and it was stuck in a depressed state. So it kept sending the signal that the top was, or the retractable wing is extended when it wasn't. What you're looking at here are the push rods that actually lift and lower the retractable wing. So the rest of the unit is over here, and let me show you what else I found wrong with it that we need to address. This here is the motor. It's an electric motor that lowers and raises the wing by pushing those rams up and down, which are connected here on this tooth gear. If you take a look at here, you can see some of the stuff that I'm about to point out, but that white stuff in there is lubricant, some type of grease or bearing grease, but it's all dried out, crudted over, rust. I'm gonna repack the grease inside of here, get it all buttoned back up, resolve the micro switch issue, which I think I did. It just needed a little bit of DeoxIT, which is this right here. DeoxIT is a great chemical to use on corroded connectors. It's helped me a lot on Project Pepper here, my Porsche. Let's get this thing buttoned back up together and I'll shove it back in the car and let's keep our fingers crossed that this resolves the issue. No big deal. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and stick this in the purple power, get this thing nice and clean, and get it back together. Let's do it. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with purple power, this is it right here. Easily accessible. I got this 2.5 gallon jug at my local O'Reilly's. You can get it from Amazon. It's also a good idea to have some compressed air available as well so that you can get some of the moisture out of it. All right, now that I've got my workbench cleaned off from the cleaning phase, now it's time for the assembly phase. And this is what I decided to use. It's overkill, yes, I know. Easily accessible is what I say. And I can get this at O'Reilly's, no problem. And I'm gonna use a popsicle stick to just scoop out the amount that I need, put a dollop in everywhere I need, and then put it all back together. It's pretty straightforward. So the first thing that you wanna do when you're reassembling it is to do what they call a dry run or a dry fit. And basically that means just put everything where it belongs, get it seated, get it all together, make sure it all snaps into place and works before you start going to town and putting lube everywhere. All right, push the tabs in. So now that's secure and resealed. And like I said, I already have lube here. I'm just gonna freshen it up. I'm gonna put a little bit in this area right here. I don't really believe I need a whole lot. And there are little dowels here that'll help you guide this motor back in to the gear. All right. Okay. Here's the first one. There you go. All right, we're in. This is the tricky part, okay? Do not close this up yet. Let's simulate the ram itself that's on the car. It's gonna lay in here like that. So you gotta be able to get it in. And there are notches in the plastic where it matches the ribbing on the actual rod. So you gotta watch for that. We're gonna go put this back on the rear trunk lid, and I'm gonna do a dry fit and see how I can get everything going, and then I'll start the camera up. We're getting ready to reinstall it. I'm looking at it here, making sure that there's no more debris or leaves or what. You want to get it nice and cleaned out in here before you start. No need to go crazy and get it all clean, but you just need to get the debris. Because mine, for example, sounded like a maraca or something. Every time I opened and closed the deck lid here, it would just make a rattling sound because of all the leaves and sticks that accumulated in there over the years. So here are the rams that I was referring to here. This is what actually lifts and lowers the spoiler, which is right here. And these are the silver pins, bars, rams, whatever you want to call them, but these actually connect to the gear and does the actual actuation of the rams here. So, but before I can start, take a look at this here. 20 years behind the car where the engine is, where it's super hot. We'll do this to just pretty much anything. And this here is foam insulation. It reminds me a lot of what you would put on your outdoor pipes during a freeze, but it's oxidized and completely deteriorated. So instead of using this, I don't have any more. I don't want to spend any money on buying it from Porsche because no telling what they're going to charge for it. So I got to come up with something else here. I'm pretty sure it serves a purpose, right? This thing does not actually move the ram itself. It's this pin inside that does. But I'm assuming it's to eliminate rattling as well as protect it from the heat. So here's what I'm going to use. I'm going to use electrical fabric tape. This is what you would see on wiring harnesses in some of my previous videos that you may have seen. I've used this on my wiring bundles to get them back to factory spec. So I'm just going to wrap this here with factory tape. You can use whatever you want. Just keep in mind that you have a small amount of space here, and this is really thin, a lot thinner than the foam. So I don't anticipate it being a problem. But if I hear rattling, I'll take it apart and do it again. But that's what I'm going to go with. All right, I've done the first one, and it came out really well, I think. And what I want to show you here is the difference between one that's not insulated and one that is insulated. So here's the one that is on the driver's side here, and then you can hear, and I suspect it's going to tap right there on that curb spot. So I kind of emphasized my tape right there. But this is what it sounds like with tape, with the fabric tape on. And if you'd like, you could probably put some normal electrical tape, the vinyl kind, underneath here, and then wrap it with fabric. And it'll give you a little extra cushion there. So I'm going to go ahead and knock this one out next. All right, I'm going to move on to the second one here. Now, you're going to run into a problem if you're trying to wrap your tape and this thing is in the retracted position. You can pull the pin out here and you'll notice that you get a whole lot more room to work with your fabric tape. So it's really simple if you have gloves that'll cooperate. All right. And then just start going around, and it doesn't have to be thick because again, it's got to fit between the heat shield and the trunk lid. I'm going to put a little bit more padding, which is a couple of more turns just on the curve where it taps against the metal more than anywhere else. Now it's quiet. All right. All right, I think I've got the gears where I want them to be. I had to move this one in a little bit simply because it was just too much tension right here and this thing kept popping out. So what I did is, so if you take a look at here, there's a little flange and a ring, or I don't know how you want to describe that, but basically it goes in there like that. So you have to have a little bit of tension pushing up on the spring, which is here. I didn't mention the spring the last time, but yeah, there's a spring on here that I took off and I re-lubed it a little bit. I think I'm going to move it one tooth closer just to put a little bit of resistance on it, or positive pressure to keep it from just sliding out. And then just line it up again to see how it's going to look. That looks good. Okay. First attempt, folks. I didn't do a dry run on this, but here we go. So just for orientation's sake, the motor goes up and the wires come in this way. I use my middle finger. Of course. And so the plate or the flat bottom is going to go facing downwards onto the heat shield. So here we go. So I've found that if you push it in, point in first and compress the spring a little bit, it pops right in, just like that, okay? So I'm gonna hold my hand right here to keep it from popping out because it will pop out. And then I'm gonna do the same thing here on this side, right there. I think that'll be good. Okay, hands on there. Thank you. And then
feel it trying to pop out.
Right there, got it. Okay, I got these two. Now bring me the plate. And do me a favor and orient it the way it needs to go. And you can see the little clippies. So right here and right here. Clip, clip, clip. Got to get the bolts in. This is where I realized I forgot to install the micro switches and I had to reopen that shell and put them back in. Reconnect your power, because it'll help hold everything in place. Okay, my hands are a little bit greasy. There, okay. We almost had it on the first try, but unfortunately I forgot a switch. Once you get the micro switches reinstalled, install those bolts, but do not put the nuts on them because you still have to put the heat shield on the bottom, and then you can hand tighten everything. So I've lightly tightened everything. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this up here before I continue and remount everything, but we're making really good progress. Okay, that's nice and snug. Okay, so I'm reinstalling this wire holder that's attached to the heat shield. So it goes right here on the back side of the heat shield, but it actually wraps around this cable. So I'm gonna rewrap it with the electrical tape as it was before. All right, now that you've got it all taped up, you wanna coax it back behind the heat shield and then pop it right back into place. Boom. All right, I'm gonna put the rest of the bolts on the heat shield to hold everything in place. I'll torque these down. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side so you can see that the heat shield is protecting the plastic from heat damage. All right, so this is the lower half of I call it a bellows, but it's basically that accordion looking thing on the back of the spoiler. We're gonna push this bellow down, and it's not ideal, but I think I can get it. There, I'm gonna hold it. And then what you wanna do is you push this washer without my glove on it. There. Okay, and that holds it here. Okay. And then the next one. And this is what happens when you don't put that washer completely on that stud. There we go. Yeah. Okay, that should hold. I won't bore you with the final few steps, but basically you got to reinstall the fan and any of the ductwork that you may have taken off as well. Okay, that about wraps it up. As you can see, the spoiler opens and closes without issue. It's properly lubed. Everything is working now, and now I can get my convertible top open. Thanks for watching Yogi's Garage. We'll see you next time. I could truly be moody. I could have played the French in the movies. I've been a part-time shadow cat, part-time. That is not a guy that I would ever want to try to battle rap.